It's 3:58 in the morning. I'm Kyle.
I'm Erin.
I'm Mike.
And tonight on the Sleepy Nerds podcast, we're put in charge of the Malibu Comics cinematic universe.
I understand that reference, now that it was explained to me.
What's up, guys?
Hey!
Hello. It's been a while.
It's both been a while since we recorded, and also the three of us have not, sat down and had a conversation in, a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen Mike. This is actually 17 years after the last episode.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Mike.
Since then.
Yeah.
And he's been continuously growing his beard, so now it's just dragging on the floor.
Yeah.
That's where we record.
In Mike's beard?
Like in the Guardians where Groot has him that big, Groot ball. We just record in a nest of Mike's facial hair.
I mean, I always said I wanted the Gandalf, so.
Yeah. Mike, it smells like a calzone in here.
I mean.
That's racist.
Is that a bad thing? Let's be honest. Okay.
It is a compliment.
Thank you. That's my new cologne, Eau de Calzone.
I like it.
I don't know where to go from there.
It feels good to be back. So clearly the topic of tonight's episode is there is no topic.
Meta.
Yeah, we're just kind of getting back into the groove of things that we haven't been around each other in a little while. So it's incredibly awkward.
There's just going to be a lot of long pauses. Like quiet coughing.
Hello?
It's actually a challenge to the listeners how long they can go before they think something happened to their phone.
Yeah. Like when you're on a call with someone and you're like, did it drop? Or are they just thinking?
It's where you're talking really passionately for 10 minutes and they've never interjected yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
You think they hung up or...
You have to check, are you there?
Or put the phone down and went to the other room or something.
Right, yeah.
So I immediately need to talk about, I'll just jump into it, something I'm incredibly annoyed by.
Sure.
Erin and I just watched an episode of The Goldbergs.
From season 2, so it's from 2 or 3 years ago.
It's from a while ago. It's called Dynamic Duo, and it's an episode about the 89 Batman coming out.
Yeah, didn't the kid go see it with the grandfather or
He goes see it with his granddad. And the thing that bothers me about the show is if the show takes place in if the show takes place in the 80s, and in season 2 they're going to go see a movie that came out in 1989, that kind of limits their timeline a little bit, unless the entire series is about one day of 1989.
Well, I don't remember how long that 70s show lasted, but the first episode of that 70s show is December 31st, 1979.
No, it's not.
They put that on a graphic.
I think.
Super. I swear to God,
it's not
they do.
I think flash forward, is it?
No, I think the very first episode starts in 75 or 76, because I know halfway through the show is when Star Wars comes out, and that was in 77.
But this might be the same issue. So in the episode, it starts off as it was April 5th, 1980 something. I'm like, okay.
They say 80 something.
They say 80 something just to kind of I feel like whenever they want to come up with in season 5 they might come up with oh, let's have them go see Raiders.
Yeah.
But they already have Batman happen, so they're well, we'll just say it's 80 something. But they say April 5th, 1980 something. Well, how the fuck did that happen when Batman came out June 23rd of 1989?
Kyle was so angry.
The show is full of inaccuracies.
I think with the Goldbergs and kind of with that 70s show too, because there's no real overarching story, is they can put episodes out of chronological
I feel like the show
order.
takes place in 1980 with big quotes around it. 1980s is this big weird like Sin City.
Yeah.
Where that people have 1950s technology but also cell phones.
Yeah.
So
what's weird to me is I'm sure that the storyline will be chronological. I don't keep up with the Goldbergs at all. But so the B plot in that episode was that the oldest daughter, I think she's the oldest, right? Yeah, she's applying to college. And so I'm sure that show went on and she's attending college now. And so even if you're assuming oh, well, maybe things are airing sort of out of order, the different parts of their lives. If we see her in college at any point in that show, it's going to be later than 89.
Yeah. Well, it could also
it
could also be the kind of show that doesn't have the whole methodology where every season is a whole year.
Yeah.
It could be multiple seasons take place within the same year kind of thing.
Yeah. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
I would decided.
No, I agree.
I want to bring up the last time we watched this episode. Kyle was on his phone because later the grandfather is like, "Oh, that's not Batman," and he shows the youngest son like a clip from the Adam West Batman,
Yeah.
and they're watching it on TV, and Kyle leans over to me and goes, "Was Adam West Batman in syndication by the 80s? I don't think that's true," and looked that up, and that also like wasn't the case. And that show wasn't in syndication until like the 2000s or something, actually. Like it never re-aired. Yeah, we looked it up. I forget.
That's
that was
weird.
like
They aired like random episodes on like premium networks like HBO.
Well, I remember as a kid in the 90s seeing it on TV from time to time. Just like randomly.
Yeah.
So,
But
no, that brought up, you guys were talking about that and you messaged me about it. And that brought up the thing about how I forgot what show I was watching one time, but they were playing like Halo with PlayStation controllers. And I'm like, this is dumb because anybody that knows anything about video games.
That's 40-Year-Old Virgin.
No, it was a TV show.
It's in 40-Year-Old Virgin they do that too. They play
they're playing
like PlayStation game with Xbox controllers.
No, they're playing like Mortal Kombat on like N64, but the guy's using like a gaming chair with N64. But yeah, like it's things like that and shows like anybody that knows anything about video games is going to know, especially with Halo, where everybody, like majority of people know you can only get that on Xbox.
It's weird.
That's like a flagship of the Xbox too. It's not just like any game that's like, oh well, we got it wrong.
It really strikes me as like the writers just get nerd shit. Like who cares? Like
right.
even accurate. Like
or it could just be like somebody put a video on the TV. And didn't communicate with the props guy, and the props guy just handed them
not
controllers.
even the writers. Yeah, just of like when we were getting
video
this
game. Then whatever they got the rights to.
Yeah, we need controllers, so like just have them do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I remember what show that was. But... So
I'm sorry, I've been furiously researching that 70s show on my phone because that's bothered me for years, and I swear to God it was. Anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah, I feel like video games, especially shows, are like. TV shows, movies are notoriously bad about.
Especially...
Like, they just never put in any kind of effort or research or anything unless they're being paid by the video game, which is incredibly rare.
Yeah.
That they just, like, have the worst... And, like, actors, too. You'd think some actors would play video games, but they have the worst just, like, button mashing or doing things with their hands on the controller
they're, like, turning the controllers.
Yeah, they're turning the controller side to side.
Like
their finger
like
isn't anywhere near the joystick. Like...
I feel like now, though, that... Well, the problem with that is probably like you were saying is like they just hand them the controllers and tell them to press the buttons, and then they'll figure out what game is going to be on the screen whenever they can get the rights.
It's like when actors movies like they play a pianist, and they're playing a song on the piano, and they cut to like some like old man's hands, and it cuts back, and it's like Benedict Cumberbatch,
and his hand,
but he's like from the opposite view, so he's just like swaying back and forth, and his arms are flapping up and down.
Yeah, your arms don't really go like this unless you're like a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Right? Yeah, they're just like
so you're fucking like John Cage just going at it on the piano, but like...
yeah, I was gonna shit. What was I gonna say? Like I feel like the old man hands like playing the piano is like the same as the Titanic scene where it's like he's sketching Kate Winslet, and then it like cuts to his hands. It's like weathered old man hands. It's like
no, it was James Cameron's hands. You know, James Cameron did that drawing.
Weathered old man hands.
But you know James Cameron did that drawing, right?
I'm positive James Cameron did that drawing.
Yeah, no.
Kate, I got a great idea.
But, I don't know.
Hashtag me too.
How did that get away with the PG-13 rating?
Did I have a PG-13 rating?
Titanic, yeah. Titanic's PG-13.
90s.
Tasteful artistic nudity, as opposed to swearing and sex.
There was sex when they were in the car. I mean, they didn't show it, but in the car.
Well,
the rating system makes zero sense.
Yeah, it really does.
Like evolves every decade.
It's just a weird one, like, again, to go back to like 40-Year-Old Virgin. I think like 40-Year-Old Virgin and like one of the later Saw sequels were in theaters at the same time with the same rating. Like, all right, I guess.
Yeah, well, but I mean, 40-Year-Old Virgin had a lot of nudity and like,
but like,
very like adult,
like swearing and nudity is the same thing as like a guy having his head twisted completely off of his body, and then like the head being ripped out with a spinal cord.
Yeah, well, like America's all fucked up on like horrible violence is okay, but like any nudity now is.
I've never told the story on the podcast.
Oh Lord!
What a great segue! Thank you.
Okay.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Stop, Mike.
Yeah, I also won't finish my point.
I was just gonna say like the MPAA is totally screwed up. It's like
definitely.
the Oscars and everything like that. It's just the people that
it's all money.
Well, yeah, the people that
politics.
people that rate them and choose who win. Don't even watch the damn movies.
Erin, what was your point?
I don't remember.
Okay, never mind.
I was just like literally gonna finish my sentence that America's priorities of like violence is totally fine, but like nudity and like sexual content is obscene. Like makes no sense. Is very specific to this country and also like this time period. Even like 80s comedies were totally fine with that shit.
Unless you're HBO now and has no problem doing entire frames of just male dong with warts on it.
Thank God we live in these times. Yeah, they put a warning up at the beginning of the episode, basically.
Yeah, but it's the same warning as every episode.
That's Westworld's new spinoff, Dong World.
Well, no, that was Game of Thrones, but yeah, I've heard Westworld's got a lot of dong in it too. So
nice. Anyway,
what
was my point? I worked at a video.
I hope your point was also related to guys hanging dong.
I worked at a video store for 8 years, and we had a woman come in one time. It was a woman and her 2 children.
Oh no!
And they were like 6 and 8.
I just realized what story Kyle's gonna tell.
They were 6 and 8.
This one as well.
And it was me and I forget who I was working with, some coworker. And she was, hey, I'm looking for movies for my kids. I'm trying to get them out of cartoons. I want them to like watch like actual like live movies.
Oh, this is not the one I thought it was.
And we're like, okay, yeah. So there's like Goonies, and we're just like recommending like 80s kids. She's like, no, I don't want like kiddie stuff. Like, I want them to like mature and watch like mature movies. And she's like, how about this one? And it's United 93.
Oh my God.
Which is the movie about September 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Flight 93 where the passenger stormed the cockpit.
Yeah. And she's like, how about this movie? And we're like, well, that might be a little intense. She's like, oh, is there like language? And yeah, there's language, but it's about September 11th. And she's like, well, that's okay as long as people aren't being ugly to each other. Ma'am, it's September fucking 11th.
Yeah, but are the terrorists like nice about it? Were they polite?
Did
they say please and thank you?
They killed people on the plane.
That was a constant stream of customers that made no goddamn sense. We had this old man that was like 3 feet tall, and
was he Yoda?
No. And he wasn't like a little person. He was just like a full-grown man that was 3 feet tall.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Sure. Well, because like, you know, as you get older,
it was like
he
was like a person, and then some like shrink rayed him.
Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, and he only wanted movies in full frame, which is disgusting.
He's not wrong.
Well, you know, like very few movies were shot in full frame after like Letterboxd came out, like widescreen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You two sound so fucking bored already.
No, I'm on board. I agree with you. I remember
I've just heard you rant about this so many times.
I remember a time when there was only full screen, and then when widescreen came out. At first, I was against widescreen because I'm like, I don't like the bars. And then I started watching more and more stuff, and I'm like, what the fuck was I doing?
He got so mad that we didn't have things in widescreen. And
full screen.
Sorry, in full screen. And he thought we personally made that decision at the store. And he'd ask, he's like, can you please make this one in full frame for me? No. And eventually...
How would you like me to do that, sir?
And eventually we just started lying to him, and we're like, we're not pressing those anymore, sorry. And the moment I realized the difference between widescreen and full screen, at a VHS of Halloween, that's in full frame, and there's a part where Jamie Lee Curtis is walking down a street, and there's like a musical cue, and she turns around, it's like, din, and like, she's just looking at bushes, there's nothing there. And it always confused me, like, what was so like nefarious about these shrubs. And then I got like the DVD years down the road, and it's because Michael Myers is like briefly off to the side, and like ducks back in. Like, oh yeah, that would have been really creepy.
I get it now.
Like,
you remind me with the story about that guy. Our current job, at some point when I had it about, I don't know, a year or two ago, I was telling this older guy about like what we did, and just like, oh, we work in, like market research and media, and we watch TV and everything. And he goes, so tell me this, how did you guys get it so wrong about the election? Like, nobody thought Trump was going to win. Like, how did you guys call it so wrong? And I'm like, well, that's not anything about what I said. I don't make TV. I don't make the news. Like, what did you just hear me say?
Sorry, man, I didn't get around to voting in enough districts illegally with all the people I've been smuggling into the country.
It was such a confusing. I was just like,
I hate people that just like completely. Yeah. That was like macro level of like anything you do. where they're like unable to focus on just like I just work there.
Yeah, you could be like working at McDonald's and they're like, well, like why do cows get fed so much corn? And you're like, I just work the register.
Why did you get rid of the McRib? Sir, I just want to sell you these chicken nuggets.
Yeah, like your CEO stole all that money. Like, I don't
make the imitation rib meat.
Yeah.
I used to get a guy that would come in and he'd always try to get tax exemption on his movies.
What?
His reasoning was, he's like, well, I just resell these anyway and you can't tax the same item twice. Which, first of all...
You can.
Yeah. And he didn't, and you can get tax exemption for stuff like if you have the paperwork for it, for like if you work for like a charity or something, you get tax exemption, and you didn't have the paperwork, and he's like, well, just give it to me, and I'm like, I can't, and he goes, you can do, he's like, this is America, you could do anything you want to.
I mean, he's not totally wrong.
I'm like, sir, my area manager's in this building, an armed thief could walk into this building, shoot me in the face, and walk out, and my area manager would fire me.
And he's like, so you're saying I should shoot you in the face and steal these movies?
Yeah. Which I've also been threatened with. But
go on.
You never worked retail, right?
No.
Mike, what was your...
Thank God.
Mike worked in the comic shop for a number of years, and you worked at...
I worked at Babies R Us.
Babies R Us.
Yeah.
That was the worst.
Yeah. What's your worst Babies R Us customer?
Well, I never got...
I hope it was like someone called a baby, like, they're crying, what do I do?
I never got threatened with a shot to the face.
I
that's
was
what you're asking.
talking to a friend of a friend. Well, I don't know if I was unemployed or I just had a part-time job, but it wasn't retail. But I was talking to a friend of a friend who worked at a gas station. There were two of them, actually. And they were talking about like, oh, yeah, you should come work here. It's like, it's really great. You know, we like have fun because we're all friends and everything. And I was like, I mean, like, that seems incredibly dangerous working at a gas station convenience store to me. I was just like,
Absolutely.
I mean, like, hasn't anything happened? They're like, oh, yeah, well, like, we've been held up at gunpoint. We've been, like, robbed several times and all this. And, like, people, like, crashed into the pumps. And I was like, but, like, it's really fun. You should come work here. I was like,
No, thanks. I'm
pass.
good. The worst I could think of one time, I never got threatened with violence, luckily, but this one lady was asking me questions about car seats and like how long the kid had to use them, and I tried to explain to her like the rule, like the law regarding car seats, like whatever, you know, up to a year the car seat's got to be facing backwards, like 2 or 3 years.
You were just going to say, up to a year after that, they don't need a car seat.
And then it's like 2 or 3 years facing forward. And then she's like, I know the laws. I'm a lawyer. Don't tell me. I'm like, you just asked me. You just asked me questions about how long you had to use this car seat. If you already knew, what the fuck are you asking me for?
Well, joke's on Toys R Us, right?
Yeah.
Like, fuck those guys now.
I think one of the most frustrating things is people asking you a question and then getting mad at you for answering it.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing is like, you're coming to me with questions, I'm giving you the answers, and because you don't like the answer I'm giving you, you're gonna get pissed at me. It's like, what do you want? Do you want?
I kind of get it. Rear-facing car seats are the worst goddamn thing in the world. As a father of 2 children, my oldest daughter turned 1 while we were driving her to Orlando on her birthday. We pulled the car over and switched the car seat to front and face because that's how annoying rear-facing car seats are.
It's very, the rules for that are very like,
Why are they
weird.
annoying?
Because if you have a screaming toddler and you're driving and you look back and you can't like reach your arm to get them or see their face or something. And like they make those baby mirrors that you like could put so you could like look in your rear view and see a mirror with their face in it.
Yeah,
but then they also tell you not to like all those baby toys are like, oh, hang it from like the fucking car seat, like the arm, like the handle,
which you're not supposed to have up while you're driving.
You're supposed to have up while you're driving, and also they're like, yeah, don't hang anything there because if there's a car accident, you want as few things flying through the air as possible at your child's face, especially a goddamn mirror.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the mirrors they have now will
plastic,
latch. But they latch to the back of the headrest like pretty securely. But yeah, like you said, those bars that they have, the carrying bars, they're not supposed to be up. Like when the car is moving, you're supposed to put it back, and it serves as like extra protection. But like I've seen so many times where people just leave the handle up, and I'm like, you're dumb.
Yeah.
Or you just don't love your child.
Oh yeah, that too.
That is a possible way.
But
I love my children.
we know.
Well, you put the bars down, right?
Yeah.
You just put them in they turned around their car seat to be front facing. Cause like you love them, but
Well, now I get to the fear in their eyes when I'm driving. 80
That's
miles
true.
an hour
That
through
I
a
can
school zone
verify.
angrily while drinking a smoothie and texting on my cell phone.
What's the John Mulaney joke? Like an 80-year-old blind dog.
Golden retriever.
Yeah, drinking a smoothie and texting while
yeah.
driving. Yeah.
But no, the worst customers at the comic shop, and like, luckily they weren't even bad. It's just people that would not. They'd order like 50 books, and then they wouldn't come back for 6 months, and we'd just have boxes and boxes of shit on hold for them. We'd try reaching out to them, and nobody would answer. It's like, come on.
I got banned from 2 comic book shops,
Yeah.
including yours.
Before I was there,
We were there.
Before I was there,
Have you told this story on the podcast?
Not on the podcast, I don't
Okay.
think. Who's listening to this podcast to like comment like, "Hey, you told that story already"?
anyway.
Literally 3
Our
people.
content is boring enough. We don't need to start like repeating
It is
ourselves
what it
too.
is, So
Anyway.
Go on with your boring story.
I went back when I was collecting single issues. I collected maybe like 20 monthly titles, maybe like 20, 25. But I had some family emergencies, and I wasn't able to pick them up. So I called the comic shops like a responsible subscriber, and I'm like, "Hey, I have to pause my subscription. I can't come in for a little while, and if you need to sell anything on my box, like go ahead.
It's fine. Yeah.
That's fine."
And those were the customers I appreciated.
Yeah. The first shop was an adamant no.
What?
They're like, "We're not going to do that." They're like, "You need to come pick your stuff up, and we have your credit card on file. Like, once you get to like a certain monetary value, we're going to charge you for that value. And then if you don't show up, we're just going to throw the comics away." And I'm like, "Well, that makes no sense."
Yeah.
I'm like, "If you're going to charge me for them, just put them aside, like, and I'll just come get them later, then I guess we're just going to be assholes about it." So I had to go to the store when the dumbest employee was working. I hope he's listening. And I had to go to the store
Now ex-employee.
yeah. I
Well,
think
long time ex-employee.
maybe, I don't know. He's on my Facebook.
Anyway.
I had to go into the dumbest employee who was working, and I'm like, "Hey, yeah, I came to like pick up a few of my titles." He's like, "Well, technically you need to pick up all your stuff." I'm like, "Well, let me just pick up a few today, then I'll come back for the rest." He's like, "Oh, so why haven't you been in?" I'm like, "I'm moving to France." And he goes, "Oh, crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, they don't have comic books there, so there's no point." He's like, "Weird." He's like, "Yeah, it's the differences in countries is really weird." And he just like bought it. And he's like, "Well, I'll go get your stuff." So he like went to go get my stuff. So I went behind the counter and I grabbed all my paperwork out of the subscription thing.
Oh my god.
And I got several angry phone calls from that comic shop owner afterwards. He's like, "I'm going to threaten you with like legal action. I'm going to find out this and that." And then all of his comic shops got shut down. And he went to go work for a comic shop in a mall that sells overpriced like replica.
I think I know who you're talking about.
You know who I'm talking about.
The one that was by USF?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I know who you're talking
That
about.
guy's an asshole.
Yeah.
He owned
I know exactly who
He
you're
owned
talking about.
4 Hummers at one point
Are you talking about
that
this
he
guy?
would drive to each one of the locations. And now he works at a shitty mall comic book store. And I didn't realize that, and I walked into it. He's like, "Oh, hey."
Oh, that was the one. Yeah, we
Oh,
walked
fuck.
into together.
Is that
Yeah.
even still open?
It is, yeah, in
Jeez.
defiance of God himself. It's still open.
Well, because you know why it's at the mall where it is now, right?
Why?
Because he pissed off somebody at the mall in
Brandon, yeah.
and he got his store closed down.
This is a very regional podcast. I apologize. Yeah.
Anyway.
Shout out to all those guys who like malls in Brandon.
All of our Haitian listeners are really lost right now.
Anyway.
This podcast needs like many footnotes, just a regional map attached.
Just auditory asterisks.
I've never worked at any like nerdy location, any retail jobs. I have nothing
You're
to
lucky.
end with. Yeah.
Retail was like fun and then a nightmare.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know, because especially like I worked at a video store and it was only like 8 of us for a while, so you became really good friends. It was like a little family that you worked with, and you all kind of like had the same annoyances, and you kind of like got each other, and it was fun going to work. Especially when I got hired, I had no responsibilities in my life,
Sure.
so I'd get a paycheck and just like blow it on movies,
Yeah.
and that's how I ended up with like fucking 8,000 DVDs at one point because I just didn't have to do anything else. But I mean, I really think it's
8,000, not an exaggeration.
Yeah, that is true. It really, Clerks had it right. The worst part of that job is the fucking customers.
Yeah.
And I had really good customers too. We had regulars, and I'd
Yeah.
come in and be able to like kind of like bullshit with them. and they knew what they wanted and knew what they wanted. You'd try to like hook them up, do favors, and it was fun. Mm-hmm. But then you had customers. We had this one mutant that would come in, and he was physically the smelliest human being on the planet.
Bone claws or like horns?
Pig pen stink trails.
Go on.
He was like the Gambit of smell.
How dare you?
Which is weird because Gambit's already a disgusting. Okay, listen.
You can't prove that Gambit smells bad.
Gambit lives in Louisiana, and he wears a leotard under a trench coat. That guy is just like swamp ass and ball sweat. That's all he is.
He lives in like upstate New York or wherever the fuck the mansion is. He doesn't live in Louisiana.
Yes, he does.
He comes from he used to, but like when he
commutes.
He does not commute. By the time
you don't know that.
By the time he gets his X-Men costume, he is no longer living in Louisiana.
You do know that he's not on any regular X-Men roster,
You're
right?
not on any regular X-Men roster.
Very rarely in
now.
Who fucking knows with Marvel?
There's like the 5 teams. There's gold, blue, red, black. And I think there's a white team now.
Who cares?
Who gives a fuck?
Who gives a shit?
I want to know what he wore before he was in like the X-Men.
The unitard and the trench coat.
I guarantee you there's a picture of him with a shirt that it says FBI, then it says like female body inspector.
I hope so.
All of Gambit's street clothes come exclusively from like gas stations. That's all like novelty shirts.
Stores
and, like, trucker
along.
hats.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, there's the good customers and there's the bad customers.
So we had this. He was the smelliest man alive. And like some people, you're like, okay, I understand you have like a health issue, you can't take care of yourself. He would spend maybe $400 to $500 every time he came in. He'd buy 3D.
Jesus.
Like 3D Blu-ray is a big thing right before I left.
Yeah.
He'd get the 3D Blu-rays and like the Blu-ray box sets. He had money, but he wore like giant belt buckles, which I remember. But he had that.
Was your customer Tommy Wiseau?
No. He had that weird he never brushed his teeth.
Ugh.
So he had that weird cartoon thing where his tooth had so much plaque on it, it looked like one long tooth. Because there was no space. You couldn't like tell where like each tooth began.
I'm like actually getting sick to my stomach.
But no, he smelled so bad we would physically get ill. And we had, again, our area manager at the time, we were talking like, oh, this guy's so smelly. It's like, you can't harass customers like that. You can't be rude with their face. We're like, tell you what, you ring him up. So he did. And you can't see this because we're in a podcast, but he smelled so bad, my manager had to back away from the customer, and he's 4 feet away from the table, and he just had to throw his change at him. And he put he put his movies in a bag and kind of like swung them at him, and he had no self-awareness. The customer, he'd be like, all right, thanks. Customers would leave the store, and we would have regulars. Like, he would walk in and be like, oh, shit, I'll be back later. And they'd leave. The last time I ever saw him, he got dropped off in a taxi, and the taxi left without him. So he called another taxi cab, and when he would leave, he came back inside. It's like, yeah, the guy won't take me anywhere. He's like, I guess I'll wait for the bus. Like, that's Speed 3. That's what that'd be about. They have to outrun actual scent.
That's the opposite of Speed 3. Like, that guy gets on a bus and they're all like, okay, the bus isn't going anywhere. Everyone off.
Might as well let Dennis Hopper blow us up.
It is preferable to staying on this bus with this person. Ugh.
That's funny.
I need to, like, recover physically from that story. I feel ill.
Tell us a thing, Erin. I've been talking for a while.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have any.
I have a thing.
Yeah?
Okay, go for
Did
it.
you see, we're going to shift to music. Did you see that Weezer covered Africa by Toto?
Oh, we were just talking about Africa.
I did.
Apparently,
it seems too ironic.
Apparently, some kid on Twitter has been hounding them for a year. He made like a whole Twitter account. It's called Africa by Weezer. And like the @ symbol is like Weezer Africa, and every day he would just post like Weezer cover cover Africa by Toto, and like so they covered it and they put it out on YouTube, and like the cover art for it is like leaves and then the guy's tweet, like that's gonna be the official cover art, And
Jesus Christ.
it's not bad.
No?
I think I hate social media.
It's stuck in my head. I can't stop listening to it.
Yeah,
I don't know if
it
it's Africa or Weezer, but like I can't stop.
I feel like if you listen to that, like you immediately just grow a scarf.
That sounds great. I want a new scarf.
Shit, I'd be
I'm gonna listen to it.
scarf rich right now if that was the case.
Like non-stop loop.
I'd just have like a Scrooge McDuck vault just filled with scarves.
Mike's
break my neck. 'cause
Mike's
it's
beard
like
is to
scarves.
the floor, but it's also made of scarves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how do you think I keep it contained? I just wrap it up in all the
You
scarves.
just like braid it.
Yeah.
Looks like one of those shitty Gen 4 Pokemon that's just like a goddamn keychain or
Like
something.
Or a
like the
garbage bag.
bagworm one or the garbage. I love the garbage bag one. I don't remember his name.
It's called
but he's
Trubbish.
he's so cute. I
like
love
that.
him.
Trubbish.
I love him. He's adorable.
I don't know what gen it is. We're looking,
and it
God,
evolves into something called Garbodar.
I
Yeah,
like
the
that.
evolutions, whatever.
We were looking at Pokemon gens tonight to like see like just really dumb ones because I lost track after Gen 2. Like Gen 3, like very.
Yeah, Gen 3 gets spotty. Gen 4 is like the games I skipped.
Yeah, same
So
here.
it was at that point where I was
I think
like,
that was what, Black and White? I think?
no, that was Emerald and
Ruby.
no, Ruby and Sapphire
Sapphire?
were Gen 3, and then Emerald, Pearl, and Diamond were Gen 4. So
Sure.
So what are we're up to 7 now then? Because it went
Seven's
red,
out.
it went red, blue, and yellow, gold
Mm-hmm.
and silver, Ruby and Sapphire.
yep, and then
Emerald, gold, or what was it?
Emerald, and I forget which one is
No,
the
Emerald
expanded
was
one, but
Emerald was
and
looped
Pearl.
in with Emerald and Pearl were looped in with Ruby and Sapphire.
No,
I'm
it
pretty
was
sure
it was
they were.
Ruby and Sapphire and maybe Emerald was
Emerald
the
was.
That was like the
expanded.
special,
so, okay.
like,
Oh,
Leaf
so it was
Green.
Diamond and Pearl.
It was Diamond and Pearl.
Is Gen
then,
4,
Then Black and White.
right? Then
X and Y.
X and Y. Black and White 2 didn't count as a new generation.
Right, it was
out.
looped in.
Yeah.
I think Gen 6 was X and Y and maybe
And then-
Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Yeah,
were
well
lumped into
they're
that.
yeah.
And then 7 was Sun and
and
Moon,
Moon.
and then Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and then
Right.
supposedly we're gonna have a new one this year.
Yeah.
In
So
addition to
I-
Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. which
Well,
looks
those,
cool.
Oh my gosh,
those are
I'm
supposed to be in
so
2018. The next gen's supposed to be early 2019.
No, it's
You
the
sure?
series. Well, yeah, they made the same. They announced it at the same time. I'm pretty sure.
I thought that's what I mean. But,
All right, so Gen
really
4
roundabout way of saying I found out that tonight there's a Pokemon that is a microwave and a lawnmower
Yeah,
and a refrigerator.
fucking what's it called?
Dumb.
In Sun and Moon, it actually became the Pokedex.
Jesus Christ.
Fuck, I forgot what it was called.
I don't like that either. Which they need to like just pick a lore for their Pokedexes because it was like there's a Pokedex and they
it's
kept
different.
changing and adding different things,
Well,
and then
'cause
there was
it's-
one where like the Pokemon is powering it, and then
Yeah,
like,
it's different with every region
Yeah.
that they have because it's a different professor that makes it.
I know the creator of Pokemon has said no one would want this, but like I don't get why we just can't get a Pokemon MMO that has every single Pokemon in it.
no.
I mean, for the most part, the more recent ones can. Like, you can transfer Pokemon from the old games to them. And technically, I mean,
But to
Real-
play in a world with like everyone more than just battles.
well, right. But I'm saying, like, realistically, you can have in, like, the newer ones, you can have every single Pokemon in it at a point.
Actually, the closest to that, which got shut down by like copyright claims, there was a Minecraft mod
Oh, yeah.
that was
Oh, that-
Pixelmon.
That got shut down?
Yeah.
Oh.
Have you seen Pokemon Quest?
There was...
Which is it's Minecraft with Pokemon?
Yeah, I saw
That's
that.
No,
Back
but
to
it was
mobile?
that's what
It's
Pixelmon
on,
was.
it's on the Switch. It's out already.
It's on mobile too.
Is it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll put it
But,
right
no, there was also...
What's it
did
called?
you...
Don't
Pokemon
remember.
Quest.
There was a...
It's out already?
Yeah, it was like available on at least on the Switch the same day that they made the announcement.
Erin and I are currently.
But
Yeah,
there
I
was
remember.
also like a fan made Pokemon game with all new like original Pokemon. I forgot what it was called. It was really popular,
I thought it was like Neon or
something like that.
Yeah.
But Nintendo was like, no.
Yeah. You know what else was a fan-made Pokemon game? On Kyle's NES mini
Oh, God.
NES
Well,
simulator
let's not talk about that one.
emulator. There's one. I
that
can't
should be the
remember what it was
next.
called.
That will be the next dumpster, garbage baby, trash baby.
Pokemon
Yeah,
one?
I thought you posted pictures from it. Did you not?
I might have, but yeah, that'll be the next dumpster. Cool
Yeah,
baby.
so there was this like horrible fan made like mock NES game where you were playing as a Pikachu.
and just jumping.
Yeah, just jumping and running, and it was like a platformer, but it wasn't a platformer. And it like you could use thunder, but I think you only had like 2 shots to use it.
3, and you have to charge it. Yeah.
I thought it was 2, but you could pick up an extra. There was like an extra one on the level you could pick up or something.
Yeah.
When you used it, everything on the screen, like all the enemies on the screen died, but also like it froze everything in place, including you. And we never even got like, I mean, I don't know how far into the first level we got because it was just like awful. There was one jump we just like couldn't make or something. It was so bad. And like, so you were playing Pikachu, but everything else we saw like wasn't a Pokemon.
Oh yeah,
it was just like weird little
freaks,
gremlins. Yeah, I don't know. And then like rocks that hurt you. God, it was not good.
If you touched rocks and tree stumps.
Yeah. It's basically if you touch anything but the ground, you died. But
guys, wait. So, in trying to get Pokemon Quest on my phone, which didn't show up in the App Store, by the way, so I don't know if it's just not on mobile or what.
Are you sure it's mobile? I don't feel like it's gonna be.
It's not mobile. Yeah.
Oh,
I wonder if it's Apple.
I'll bing that after. I don't know. But I just remembered that Magikarp Jump was a thing.
I totally forgot about that.
Completely obsessively for, I don't know, 3 weeks or something. Yeah, and it's still on my phone, but I completely forgot it existed.
That was fun, but there's just like nothing to do.
Yeah, you just jump.
You know what they should have done? They should have all the mini games from Pokemon Stadium should just become like a.
I would love that.
That would be pretty cool.
Pokemon Stadium is great.
Yeah.
Pokemon Stadium, what was the other? It was like a GameCube Pokemon game, and
Like My Friend Pikachu.
it wasn't.
Oh,
it wasn't that. It was like
Pikachu.
a pseudo
Pikachu.
RPG, but it was very limited. You couldn't go out and catch Pokemon. You just like went from town to town, and you started with like your starters were like Espeon and Umbreon, I think.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember the name of it.
I can't remember what it was.
I know
My
what you're
sister and I
talking about.
used to play it though. Yeah.
Weird. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. It was like
I forgot what it was.
very limited, but like kind of fun.
It wasn't Pokemon Dungeon, was it?
Maybe?
No, Mystery Dungeon was a more recent one.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't Mystery Dungeon. Pokemon GameCube games. Cut out all this time where we're just searching stuff, please.
Yeah, I'll leave it on.
Pokemon Coliseum. That's what it
Are
Okay.
you
was.
sure that doesn't?
Yeah. I recognize the box art, like the character.
Okay.
That was the one I was thinking of, at least. That was fun. Pokemon Stadium was like very, very fun. But
I love Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah.
I love the mini games. Remember the fucking like Lickitung one?
yeah, where you had to
gonna
eat
get
the
the
like
food,
dishes on the
yeah.
rotating.
Well,
yeah.
great.
Even that had like a primitive version of Magikarp Jump, where you had to like hit the number a couple times, like to try to get the highest number.
There was one with Delibird. I don't remember what it was, but something with presents in Delibird.
On Pokemon Stadium?
I think so.
No.
Pokemon Stadium was just the first generation.
Just Gen 1.
I think you're crazy.
I think you're crazy. It came out on the Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Only Generation 1 was out at that time.
The
Erin,
look
Erin,
Mike is giving Erin is so fucking good.
Erin, I will fight you on this.
This is payback for you correcting me on the That 70s Show thing. I meant to... Okay, Pokemon Stadium mini-games. Mini-games.
I will fight you.
Okay, let's fight. I swear to God, Delibird was in it. Maybe... Was there a Pokemon Stadium 2? There was. I might be thinking of... It was also on N64, though.
Yeah,
Hold
but
on.
Delibird wasn't
You
even
know what's
in
weird?
Gen 2.
But you know what's weird we were talking about the other day? In Pokemon the first movie, Dawn fans in that movie?
In the first movie?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I think Generation 2 had just came out at that time, or they had just announced it and they showed off a couple Pokemon. Because wasn't Togepi in?
Togepi, that was the short film in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had just put out the second generation game. So, and I feel like they had probably finished the movie. So they tried to figure out how they could work in some of the new Pokemon into the beginning. So they just threw in Togepi and fucking...
Was Togepi in the first movie?
Well,
The short. Yeah.
Delibird's Delivery was a minigame in Pokemon Stadium 2, which was also, I believe, on N64.
I don't think so.
I'm looking at the wiki right now.
You're pretty wrong.
I still feel like you're
I
lying.
hate you both. I'm going to see when Pokemon Stadium 2 came out. Also, on this wiki, it says the Japanese Pokemon Stadium didn't have any mini-games. Like, what was even the point then?
Give a
Charlie just battles.
Pokemon Stadium 2.
This is a really exciting podcast where people are just going to listen to us searching for shit on our
Well,
phone.
everyone's going to be screaming at their computers about how right Erin is. And it came out in 2000. It was for... the box art that I'm looking at is only for N64, is what it says.
Pokemon Stadium 2?
N64, yep. It had Lugia and Ho-Oh on the front.
Okay, so then it must have been it because it looks like Delibird was introduced in Gen 2.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Still wasn't in the first one, so you're still wrong.
Yeah, I still think you're wrong.
It was a Pokemon Stadium minigame. It was just in Pokemon Stadium 2.
All right, well, you were still wrong.
Yeah. There are 2 of us and 1 of you.
You are also men.
We are white.
I mean, we're all white.
All right, on that note,
Right.
before we offend anybody...
Oh, man.
Before we offend anybody further...
Episode 18, a little too late for that.
Is this 18? Good Lord.
Yeah. Apologize. Sorry. In real life, we're all very annoyingly liberal. I apologize.
I wouldn't say annoyingly. Or liberal.
Moving on. Moving on. Kyle?
So, we haven't done Stop Watch in a while. That is a segment where I describe a horrible movie that I had to stop watching. Can you insert just uproarious laughter?
Just laugh track. I
But
love
just
Lucy
like
laugh track.
layer the laugh tracks on top of each
Kyle,
other.
talk about your stupid movie that you stopped watching, please.
Crickets.
So I recently got this app called Shudder, which is a streaming service, but just for horror movies. And there's a lot of like really good stuff on the app, like a lot of like really rare, like weird 1970s like Italian shit and like Japanese like werewolf movies. Mm-hmm. And there's all these like, there's this German director named Olaf Ittenbach.
Sure.
He's known for making.
Bless you.
Yeah, thank you. He's known for making like shot on video splattery German horror movies, and I've always wanted to watch them because I just hear like they're fucking like super bad and like brutal. Mm-hmm. Like, all right, I'm gonna watch these. So, I'm a huge horror movie fan, and I like challenge movies because you go on forums and you're like, oh, like the top 15 like most brutal, scariest movies to watch, and people are like, oh, like this movie's crazy. I'm like, all right, I'll watch it. And I've never really watched any movie that like shook me to my core.
Okay.
There just hasn't been one.
Not a horror movie, at least.
Yeah. There's this horror movie called Burning Moon, and it is shot on video. It's filmed in the early 90s in Germany, which is 1975 America.
Okay. Wait, it's set there or it was filmed?
No, Germany in 1992 was America in 1975.
No, I'm saying the movie was set in the 90s in Germany,
Yes.
or it was like filmed at that time?
It was filmed at that time.
Oh, okay.
And set at that time.
Right, okay, I got you.
But it was like right after the wall.
Sure.
And it has the worst acting of just because it's this guy that got all of his friends to start a movie, and he didn't pay any of them.
Sure.
And the plot is it's
I'm
like this.
paying you an experience.
It's this like drug addict, and he goes home, and he's told to babysit his sister by his parents. Who he comes home and he's like super high, and he like punches his mom in the face, and like then his dad like twists his arm behind his back, and he's like, "I'll murder you." He's like, all right, I'll watch your sister. We're going out for the night. And they leave, as one does.
Solid parenting.
So he like shoots heroin. And he's like, well, I'm going to go tell her 2 bedtime stories. And the first one's about a serial killer.
Oh, so this is all just the framing device.
The framing device.
Okay.
The first story is about a serial killer. And it's this woman set up on a blind date with a serial killer. But it's weird because it's this insane guy, and it's like, oh, as a child he like went crazy because he watched his granddad murder his entire family, and he went to an insane asylum. So he escapes and gets a car, and then goes on a blind date with this woman. But it never says like how they got set up. Like the time's really weird, like the continuity. And like he murders her entire family, and it's very like cheap special effects. And it shouldn't have been as boring as it was, and I stopped watching it. He sneaks in. First of all, these people deserve to die because he walks into the house, and the mom opens the refrigerator door, and there's nothing there, and she closes it, and then he's there. I've never had that. Like, I feel like you hear people walking into a room, and it's all linoleum floors.
Yeah, and that's like almost every horror movie.
That's like the whole classic, like opening the medicine cabinet and then closing it, and there's a person there,
which happens in this movie too.
But like you said, how do you not hear somebody coming unless you have like headphones on, blasting like death metal.
I just realized in this movie,
Carpeted floors.
it's someone has
in a bathroom.
there's
or
no
kitchen.
all right, they're in a kitchen.
Sorry.
And there's no one there. They open the refrigerator door, then close it, and then he's there. Then upstairs, the sister's in a bathroom, and she opens the medicine cabinet, and then closes it, and he's there.
So she
Like, back to
booking it
back?
up the stairs.
And the dad downstairs is like watching something on TV, and he's
turns
like
off
eating
the TV and it's in the
food,
reflection of the
and
TV.
he like looks up, and then the guy's there. It's an entire movie about very like, just not very. No one knows, but no
Yeah.
one pays in their surroundings.
Everyone there is like very hard of hearing.
That's the moral. Is like look around you.
Or the,
Just
the logical
just-
explanation is, like I said, triplets.
yeah. Well, it's not.
I know.
It's
That
eventually.
makes more sense, I bet, though.
I stopped watching it, then I'm like, well, I should watch this because it's like been on my list forever. It took me. It's an 80-minute long movie that took me about 5 days to watch. Because it kept just getting so fucking boring.
So what are the 4 points you stopped at?
So after he killed the mom, and it was just dragging forever. Then after he killed the sister because it was dumb.
Okay.
And then after he killed the dad.
So deaths are really boring to you.
Yeah. And then the second segment is this like priest that is murdering people. And then he kills himself.
Sure.
And then it goes to a completely unrelated event where this like farmer is murdered because they think that the priest that was killing people, it was the farmer that was killing people. So they kill him. And then the guy that killed him goes to hell. But hell is just some guy's studio apartment.
I think I've said this before when we have had this segment, but I feel like you're just telling us about your dreams now. Like, that's what you're describing, is just like, and then he goes to hell, but hell's like
Erin, this is the only way I know how to express myself.
Go on.
But yeah, hell's just like some guy's studio apartment. And it's like, just every corner of the room is just like a different like area of hell. And it's like 8 different people in like various stages of like shitty makeup.
Uh-huh.
And then he wakes up. And there's like no moral.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And then like the framing device is like, oh, the guy like stabbed his sister.
Like while he was telling the story?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
It's
What's the name of this movie?
Burning Moon by Olaf Ittenbach.
So I'm never watching that movie.
He later went on to do special effects for Blood Rain.
I never would
Oh, the
have...
Uwe
The
Boll
Uwe
one?
Boll film, yeah.
That fucking lunatic.
All right, so that's it for this episode.
I can't tell if this was good or bad that we had no topic, but
We'll try it again, see how we feel after 2.
goodbye.
Good night, everybody. Don't watch terrible movies.
Hey everyone, if you enjoy listening to the Sleepy Nerds podcast and want to hear more from us, you can follow us on Facebook at Sleepy Nerds Podcast, on Instagram and Twitter at Sleepy Nerds Pod, and you can also subscribe to us on YouTube, Podbean, and iTunes.